Have you ever felt stuck? Anybody? A few people? You ever feel like you should be doing more with your life? Always. Yeah, me too. So it's 2014, and that's exactly how I felt. I was trying to think to myself, what can I do to break out of this? You know, when you feel stuck and you're in a rut? So today I'm going to share a story of what I did throughout the year 2014 and how three little words, one little word, 3 letters, changed my life. And it all started on a Sunday afternoon. You know those Sundays afternoons when you're just sitting around on the couch, not doing very much, flipping, channel surfing? You know what I'm talking about? So I'm sitting there, I'm with my wife, and we're watching television, and we're surfing through the channels, and we end up on a channel with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, a great Canadian actor, love him, but he was in a movie called The Yes Man. Anybody ever see that movie? Anyways, the premise of the movie is pretty simple. Jim Carrey is stuck. Jim Carrey is negative, and Jim Carrey wants to get ahead, but he doesn't quite know how. It's kind of how I felt. So one of his friends brings him to this seminar with the guru, and this guru in his wise wisdom said, in order to be great, you just need to say yes. Jim Carrey, you know, wanting to try new things, does this. And he runs through a slew of adventures. I got excited. I nudged the wife. I want to say yes. And she didn't understand any of the dialogue that was going on in my head. She goes, yes to what? Just say yes. I want to be a better speaker. We all want to be better speakers. That's why we're here, right? So what I determined and what I committed to was anybody who asked me to speak outside of my club, I would just say yes. It's nerve-wracking, no? Challenging. You don't know what's going to come. She turns to me. She goes, look, do you want some ice cream? Yes. I was on a roll. I was just going with it. So my first opportunity actually came 2 months later. A coworker of mine, his daughter, was doing an internship for the Center of Education and Training. If you don't know what that is, it's an employment center for people who are unemployed looking for work. He came up to me. He goes, hey, I heard you're with Toastmasters, and my daughter's looking for a speaker to present on the topic of networking. Would you be interested? Well, guess what I said? But I had no idea what I was going to present. I didn't even know the audience. This isn't Toastmasters. This is an outside audience. It's very scary, isn't it? You don't know who you're talking to. Nobody's going to clap at you. Nobody's going to smile and cheer you on. I had to prepare something that was going to be great to an audience I wasn't familiar with. I had to step out of my comfort zone. So I said yes, and 2 months later, after preparing, I finally got up in front of this audience at the Center of Education and Training, and I delivered a talk on networking, specifically how to use social network to get work. And it went great. I have to admit, it was actually something that just overwhelmed me. But at the end of it, I felt fantastic. And it wasn't because of the actual speech that I delivered. It was because a gentleman by the name of Dave came up to me afterwards at the end. He said, listen, I'm really nervous and scared about networking with people. Do I need to network with people to get ahead? My answer was, yes. So after 15 minutes of sitting with Dave, he finally came to the conclusion, I'm going to try what you recommended today. And on that day, I realized that I could actually change somebody's life by giving a talk. Speaking is more than just spitting out words. Speaking is about changing, influencing, and moving people. My second opportunity came when I was asked by a former schoolmate of mine from elementary school to give a talk at a career day at my old elementary school. Well, guess what I said? Now, speaking to a room of unemployment people, speaking to a room full of people who are unemployed is a lot easier than speaking to a room full of fourth graders. completely different audience. And how do you prepare for this? I had no idea. But I was going to talk to them about my career. And I was going to talk to them about how I once used to be in their seats. And now I am standing at the front of the room speaking to them. In a job that didn't exist when I was in their seats. In a career that just wasn't around. The internet wasn't around. We had rotary phones, not even digital phones. So I got up in front of these kids, and I thought they would be shy, they would be nervous. They weren't. They were actually really talkative, very engaging, and I had prepared, just like I did the first time. But that totally went out the door, because the conversation just went sideways, and it was a completely different thing. What I realized at the end of it, I was just there to share what I knew about my career, which might actually not exist by the time they get to my stage. And you should have seen the looks on their faces. So I told them to stick to the basics, stick to your math, stick to your sciences, because you're always going to need that regardless of where you are in history. And just be prepared for things that just might not be there today. And just be open-minded and take on new opportunities. We all got up. They all got up at the end. They say, hey, can we do a selfie? So I turned around, and actually, if you go to my website, not my website, my Twitter feed, you'll see a shot with me and them in the background. And what I realized that day, that I was no longer the little kid sitting in the back of the room. Actually, I was really shy and really quiet when I was in the 4th grade. I skipped out on public speaking and called in sick because I was that nervous of speaking in front of others. I realized that I had made quite the progression in my life. Now, you may be wondering, what does all of this mean anyways? It means that you have to challenge yourself. You have to be comfortable. And if you really want to change your life, you have to do things you've never done before. So, the next time you're faced with a challenge, what are you going to say? Thank you.